the teasers dropped. The clock struck midnight, the notifications went out, but instead of the usual internet-breaking explosion of caps lock excitement and streaming goals, well, the fandom went completely jarringly silent.
Right, like in an instant, the entire K-pop world was just turned upside down.
Exactly. Imagine that feeling. A highly anticipated comeback teaser finally drops for literally one of the biggest music groups on the planet. But instead of a celebration, the timeline just falls into this tense, conflicted, almost surreal quiet.
Because the title of today's deep dive into the source material really says it all, right? NewJeans just leaked their own comeback, and ADOR is panicking.
Yeah, that is the exact headline story we are unpacking today. Welcome to StarScope K-Report. Join us as we ride the Hallyu wave, uncovering the biggest K-pop comebacks, shocking industry controversies, and major K-drama updates.
From internet-breaking rumors to historic chart milestones, we dive deep into the world of Korean entertainment.
And for this deep dive, we have a massive stack of sources to sift through for you. We are talking hard financial projections from Merits and Hana Securities, official corporate statements from HYBE and ADOR, plus historical timelines.
And, of course, the incredibly heated, visceral fan reactions captured by outlets like Koreaboo and the Manila Bulletin.
Our mission today is to look objectively at how this sudden July 2026 release of NewJeans' 4th anniversary content became an absolute battleground.
Right, because what started as a single, aesthetically pleasing set of videos is now the front line between corporate financial projections and intense emotional fandom loyalty.
We'll explore the history, the ongoing and frankly shocking lawsuits, and what it all means for the future of one of the world's most lucrative entertainment IPs.
And we really need to start with the drop itself, because the sheer scale of the dissonance between what you see on the screen and what is happening behind the scenes is just staggering.
It really is. Let's unpack the actual visuals first, because on the surface, they are pristine. They released this special film series under the banner of the 2026 Summer of NewJeans.
Yes, and visually, I mean, it is everything the group is known for. It's totally gorgeous.
You have these individual cinematic films. Minji is driving this vintage pickup truck, and she's carefully folding a flyer into the shape of a bunny, which, as you know, is the group's mascot.
It's so nostalgic. And then Hanni is just chilling, playing the guitar alongside this little animated rabbit character.
Right, and Haerin is carrying this adorable handmade bunny bag, and the maknae, Hyein, is roller skating after grabbing a bunny-shaped ice cream.
They also drop these short-form challenge videos, like Haerin doing a dance challenge to a track called Otsukare Summer, and Minji doing this koi walk to get down on it.
And what strikes you immediately is the aesthetic continuity. It completely preserves their signature neutral vibe.
Oh, totally. That new, retro, heavily nostalgic, 90s analog girlish sensibility. The visual motifs with the white fur, blending very ordinary, mundane moments with subtle fantasy elements. It is flawlessly executed.
But here is where it gets really interesting and honestly a little confusing for the audience. There's a massive elephant in the room, or, well, in the vintage pickup truck.
Yeah. Minji.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Netizens absolutely lost their minds when she popped up on screen leading the visual rollout.
And we have to explain why that was such a shock. According to official corporate statements from their label, ADOR, discussions about Minji's return to the group were still quote-unquote ongoing at the time of this release.
Right, nothing was legally confirmed.
Exactly. Yet she is heavily featured, and it felt like a leak. It felt like the content just dropped out of nowhere before the agency was even ready to explain it.
Which forced ADOR into total panic mode. They had to put out a clarifying statement saying, hey, this is just commemorative 4th anniversary content. We will announce their actual future activities once discussions are concluded.
Which, of course, just created mass confusion in the fandom. People are asking, wait, is this an official 4-member comeback or just archived footage they're releasing to buy time?
From a brand identity perspective, this strategy is crucial to analyze. Despite the very public absence of the group's original creator, the former CEO Hee-jin, this new content looks absolutely identical to the world she built.
It is a masterclass in aesthetic replication. They are deliberately leaning into this established identity to signal stability to the market. They're telling investors, hey, the creator may be gone, but the product remains exactly the same.
Okay, I have to push back on that because as a viewer, it feels incredibly jarring. It feels like watching a reboot of your favorite indie movie that just got taken over by a massive faceless studio.
Right, but they somehow managed to keep the original cinematographer so every shot looks identical.
Yes. It's brilliant from a business standpoint, sure, but it's eerie. It gives you whiplash. Is this just a deliberate tactic to tell investors, look, nothing has changed, your money is safe?
That is exactly the intended function, and there's a very specific mechanism behind how they achieved that seamless look. If you look closely at the production credits in our sources, you'll see why.
Oh, really? What do they find?
The creative director listed for these new videos is a woman named Kim Na-yeon.
Okay. And who is she?
She's a creative who previously worked alongside Hee-jin at SM Entertainment, another massive K-pop label, and then she transitioned to HYBE with her.
So she already knew the blueprint.
Exactly. Kim Na-yeon was deeply, fundamentally involved in establishing the original NewJeans aesthetic from day one. So having her at the helm explains how the visual transition appears so perfect.
They lost the visionary CEO, but they kept the architectural blueprint and the person who knows how to read it.
Precisely.
Wow. Okay, so they kept the visual architect to maintain the illusion of continuity. That makes total sense as a corporate strategy. If you love staying updated on your favorites and getting these behind-the-scenes insights, make sure you're subscribed to StarScope K-Report because we have got even bigger scoops ahead.
We really do. Because speaking of the illusion of continuity, we need to address the other glaring omission in these visuals. The group is now 4 people.
Not 5.
Right. Danielle is completely missing from this anniversary content. And that absence has sparked a massive rallying cry across the entire fandom.
Yeah, NewJeans is 5. That is all over the internet right now. And that is not even the wildest part of this comeback, because wait until we get into why she's missing.
To understand why Danielle is missing and why the fandom is so deeply fractured, we have to look objectively at the legal labyrinth this group has been trapped in.
This isn't just standard celebrity drama. It is one of the most high-profile labor, contract, and intellectual property disputes in Korean entertainment history.
Absolutely.
Let's lay out the timeline so you have the context.
Yeah.
The foundation of this group really cracked back in April 2024. A massive shareholders dispute erupted between top executives at the parent company, HYBE, and the former CEO of ADOR, Hee-jin.
HYBE claimed Hee-jin was plotting to take full ownership of the label and the group, while she accused HYBE of unfair treatment and copying her creative ideas.
It was incredibly messy. It all played out in these wild public press conferences. And crucially, the members of NewJeans publicly supported Hee-jin.
Yeah, they even held a surprise, unsanctioned YouTube livestream demanding her reinstatement as CEO, which in the highly controlled world of K-pop is just almost unheard of.
Right, that takes serious guts.
Yeah.
And that culminated in November 2024 when the members sent a legal ultimatum and subsequently announced they were terminating their exclusive contracts.
Their main argument was a lack of artist protection and a complete breakdown of trust with the company. They even tried to launch independent activities under a new name, NJZ.
But here is where we have to understand how entertainment law, specifically regarding standard K-pop contracts, actually works. These contracts are typically 7 years long.
And they represent a massive upfront financial investment by the corporation. Training, housing, producing, and marketing a group costs millions before they ever even debut.
So when the members tried to walk away, the court stepped in.
Exactly. In October 2025, the Seoul Central District Court made a definitive ruling. They stated that the exclusive contracts were legally valid until 2029.
Essentially, the court's view is that unless there is a severe breach of contract by the company, like total non-payment or extreme negligence, emotional distress over corporate leadership changes doesn't invalidate a legally binding labor agreement.
Right, which effectively forced the members to return to the label. And according to the reports we're looking at, Haerin, Hyein, and Hanni agreed to return under those court orders.
Minji, as we mentioned, has been in those ongoing positive discussions, though she's now appearing in videos. But Danielle, her situation took a completely different, much darker turn.
It really did. In December 2025, ADOR announced they had officially terminated Danielle's contract. They accused her of engaging in unauthorized independent entertainment activities.
But they didn't just fire her.
No, they didn't. They sued her and her close collaborators for a staggering 43 billion won.
Okay, let's translate that for you. That is roughly 29.8 million US dollars in damages. For one person.
I mean, it's just an astronomical amount of money.
Okay, stop right there, because this is the part I am really struggling to understand. If the Seoul court ruled that the members' contracts were valid, and ADOR clearly went to court to protect their incredibly lucrative asset, why do this?
Why destroy the asset?
Exactly. Why did they immediately turn around, fire, and then sue Danielle? It seems totally contradictory to keeping the complete five-member group intact and maximizing their value. Why destroy the very asset you just fought a year-long legal battle to keep?
It's a fantastic question, and it really gets to the core of corporate leverage and IP valuation. While we obviously don't have access to ADOR's internal legal strategy from an objective corporate governance standpoint, suing a member for breach of contract after winning a broader validity ruling does two specific things.
Okay, what's the first?
First, it sets an immovable boundary for the remaining members. It mathematically demonstrates the cost of noncompliance.
Basically saying this is what happens if you try to leave again.
Exactly. But second, and perhaps more importantly, that $29.8 million figure isn't just pulled out of thin air. It represents the label calculating the exact lifetime value of Danielle's specific fraction of the intellectual property.
Wait, explain that. How do you calculate the lifetime value of a person?
Well, they are looking at the projected album sales, the massive global tour revenues, the luxury brand endorsements. I mean, NewJeans members are ambassadors for brands like Gucci, Chanel, and Dior.
Right, they are everywhere.
So the label is saying, by walking away and refusing to participate, you are depriving our shareholders of nearly $30 million in expected future revenue. It's the ultimate commodification of human potential.
Wow. So they're essentially trying to extract her future value through litigation rather than performance. That is intense. And adding to the chaos, ADOR isn't just fighting internal battles with their own artists.
No, they aren't.
The sources note they're dealing with massive external legal pressure right now, too. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss a KT update, because this just keeps getting deeper.
Right. According to reports from Billboard and the Korea Herald, ADOR and the members are facing recent copyright infringement lawsuits in the United States over two of NewJeans' biggest tracks, How Sweet and ETA.
The claim is that they stole instrumentals from earlier tracks by other artists. So you have a label fighting its former CEO, suing one of its members for $30 million, forcing the others to return via court order, and simultaneously fighting off international plagiarism suits over the very music that made them famous.
It's just a complete labyrinth of litigation. Which brings us to the human element of this story. On the exact same night those highly produced, pristine 4th anniversary teasers dropped, Danielle posted her own separate update to the fans on Instagram.
Yes, she shared some new, candid photos of herself and wrote a caption that said, "Life gets cloudy sometimes, but the light always finds its way back in. Until then, keep shining."
It is a very poignant, quiet message. You can just feel the emotion there.
And it is that stark contrast, right? The quiet, emotional message from a sued member versus the highly polished corporate video drop that is driving the current fan reaction.
Let's transition into that reaction, because the core fans, the stans who dedicate immense time and money to supporting these groups, and the general K-netz are largely united in their outrage right now.
Later in the episode, we'll talk about the massive pre-production leak that proves the company doesn't care about this backlash. But first, let's look at the fans. We're looking at quotes from Korea Boo and the Manila Bulletin, where hardcore fans are calling this new four-member content, quote, soulless and deeply disturbing.
They are completely looking right past the aesthetic continuity we discussed earlier. They don't care how good the styling is.
Exactly. One fan went viral saying the girls look miserable in the videos and that their spark is dead. They even expressed hope that the next 3 years of their legally mandated contracts just pass quickly so they can be free.
And it's not just anonymous fans on Twitter. Industry professionals are weighing in too. Renowned art director Park Sa-young posted a blistering critique on his Instagram story.
What was his specific angle on it?
Well, he called the styling tacky and said it looked like something out of the old Gayo Top 10 era.
Okay. For you listening who don't know, Gayo Top 10 was Korea's premier music chart show back in the 90s.
Right. So he's essentially saying it looks like a cheap, dated imitation rather than genuine neutral nostalgia. He directly blamed the company executive, saying, quote, "People with no talent at all are just riding off the coattails of the kids."
Ouch.
Yeah. And he used this great analogy comparing a four-member NewJeans to watching the anime Attack on Titan, but missing the Titans.
Oh, wow. That analogy perfectly captures the fandom sentiment. The core identity is fundamentally fractured. It's a visceral, deeply emotional backlash.
But here is where this story takes a sharp, almost unbelievable pivot.
Right. If you look away from the social media outrage and look over at the financial sector, the market is incredibly optimistic. The numbers tell a completely different story than the fandom.
Wait, how is that even possible? How can the financial market be optimistic when The core consumers, the fans who actually buy the albums and stream the music, are threatening to boycott.
It's wild. But it's because the financial sector operates on projections and the stabilization of intellectual property, not emotional sentiment. Analysts at major firms like Hana Securities and Merit Securities are thrilled that the NewJeans IP is finally back in motion, regardless of how it looks to the fans.
So they don't care about the optics, just the output.
Exactly. In fact, Merit Securities just raised HYBE's stock target price to 380,000 won. They are projecting a massive financial rebound.
Okay, let's look at the math behind that optimism. What exactly is the market expecting this rebound to look like? Because at the end of the day, an IP is only as good as what it can actually sell.
Let's break down the mechanics of the projections. Analyst Lee Ki-hoon from Hana Securities projects a high probability of a full four-member comeback by October 2026. Merit Securities takes it further. They project album sales for this upcoming release to hit around 900,000 units.
Wait, 900,000 physical albums for a group in the middle of a boycott?
Yes. And they aren't stopping at albums. They estimate 2 to 3 major concerts in Korea and Japan, drawing roughly 150,000 attendees.
That's huge.
When you combine the album margins, the touring revenue, and the associated merchandise, they project this single comeback cycle could contribute 60 to 70 billion won in operating profit.
60 to 70 billion won in pure profit. That is an astronomical figure for a group that is currently engulfed in this much controversy. And the sources also mention long-term projections, right? This isn't just about October 2026.
Correct. The financial reports project a large-scale global world tour for NewJeans by 2028. The models estimate that major tours by HYBE's top artists could generate an additional 500 to 600 billion won in overall revenue for the company.
So the logic here is that the label believes the music and the overarching brand are just bigger than the individual controversies. They believe that even if the hardcore stands boycott, the general public will still tune in, the brand deals will still hold, and the tours will still sell out.
Precisely. The corporate machine is moving forward, entirely regardless of public sentiment. And there's a very specific detail in the sources that proves this isn't just theoretical modeling.
Oh, the Copenhagen leak.
Yes, the Copenhagen leak. So while fans are endlessly debating online whether the girls are even willing participants in this comeback, or if they're just fulfilling a court mandate through gritted teeth, there are solid reports that ADOR has already been conducting pre-production recording sessions in Copenhagen, Denmark.
Meaning the music is already being made. The studio time is booked, the producers are working, the train has already left the station.
Exactly. And this brings us to a really crucial takeaway for you listening right now. Whether you are a dedicated follower of Korean pop culture or someone who is just fascinated by business, law, and corporate strategy, this entire saga is an incredible real-time case study.
It absolutely is. We are watching what happens when a highly emotional, human-driven product, which is what music, personality, and fandom inherently are, collides head-on with rigid corporate structures, shareholder expectations, and strict legal obligations.
It's the ultimate clash between art and commerce. You have fans who crave authenticity. They want the artist to be happy. They want the original 5 members together. They want the original creative vision intact.
But on the other side, you have a massive corporation that has a legally protected right to its intellectual property. They have shareholders to answer to, and they have hundreds of millions of dollars on the line.
And so the corporation pushes forward. They legally compel the workers back to the studio. They brilliantly replicate the visual style. They book the producers in Copenhagen, and they confidently project 900,000 album sales to their investors.
All while the fandom is screaming that the soul of the group is completely gone.
It is a remarkable tension to observe. The aesthetic remains picture perfect, but the underlying context has entirely shifted.
So what does this all mean? To summarize our deep dive today, what started as a seemingly simple, nostalgic set of 4th anniversary videos featuring vintage trucks and bunny motifs actually represents a multi-million-dollar corporate flex.
It highlights a deeply fractured fandom mourning a missing member, and it exposes the incredibly complicated, heavily litigated, and often harsh reality of the entertainment industry behind the scenes.
Which leaves us with a final important thought for you to mull over as you watch this play out. NewJeans was built from day one on a brand of effortless authenticity and raw, unfiltered youth. It felt organic.
Right.
But if the original creators are gone, one member is being sued for nearly $30 million, and the rest are legally compelled by a court order to participate, well, can a purely corporate entity perfectly replicate authenticity? Or will audiences eventually see the strings pulling the rabbit?
You've been listening to StarScope K-Report, where Eric and Minji bring you the stories shaping K-pop, K-dramas, and the global Hallyu wave. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.